Welcome to episode 8 of Fascinating, a Star Trek podcast. Miri.
In this week's episode, the Enterprise encounters a planet that resembles Earth in every way, apart from being hundreds of light years away from home. On the surface, the crew are infected by a disease that has wiped out the planet's adult life, and face a race against time to discover a cure before they too succumb. Their efforts are complicated, however, when the planet's surviving children make their presence known.
Good evening, Iain. Na.
Good evening, Gerry. I feel suitably taunted.
Good. The taunts were rather annoying this week.
Well, children are annoying, aren't they?
Yes.
I say that as a parent.
Mine certainly are. If you're listening to this in the future, guys, I was only joking.
Just for fun.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm fine, Gerry. How are you?
Not so brilliant.
No.
We've missed a week of recording. No one will know that, but we have.
We have, due to illness.
Yeah, so if I sound suitably bunged up, that's the reason. But if into the chest, a cold, it's taken about 2 weeks to shift. Not good.
The dreaded lurgy.
Probably on the way out.
Thankfully.
At this age.
Not in my direction, hopefully.
Yeah, so annoying brats. An enjoyable episode. I liked the change of scenery, I must admit, but the kids, precocious kids, they're always annoying, aren't they?
Yes. There's not a single movie or show that wouldn't be improved by the removal of children.
Yeah, dating back to Shirley Temple. God, she was a brat.
Every one of them.
Talented.
Oh yeah, of course you have to admire their skills, but they're not...
Just be kids for a while. You can become little adults when you are actual adults.
Exactly. Well, these kids are adults.
Yeah, in the show and also in real life and in some cases.
Well, that's true. Absolutely true.
Anything you want to say before we begin?
No.
Good. Crack on.
Can we start on the bridge of the Enterprise?
Why not, for a change?
Just keep things
fresh.
Interesting and fresh. I think it's the only part of the Enterprise that we actually see in this episode.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not common.
The ship picks up an Earth-style SOS from a planet which confuses Kirk, as they are apparently hundreds of light years from home.
Yeah, Kirk confirms that there are no colonies or vessels this far out, but Spock identifies the third planet in the system, same as Earth, as the one that is producing this signal. He goes on to list metrics about the planet in terms of its mass and its size, and Rand recognises those as also relating to Earth.
Yes, I think she shouts out Earth, but Kirk points out it's not the Earth, another one.
Well, he's got experience with duplicates.
He has, yeah. I was, again, listening to his autobiography up until now. I mentioned before that I've listened to it already. Sometimes I go through periods. So the last 5 nights I've been falling asleep to Mr. Shatner.
Dulcet tones.
Yeah. And in that he mentions the fact that in several occasions in Star Trek there are more than one of him.
Yes, there's many. Well, we've already seen, I think we've seen 2 though, haven't we? The android one.
Yes.
And when he got split by the transporter.
We have indeed.
This was actually the shortest pre-credits scene in the entire series.
Yeah.
So it'll always be longer than this going forward.
Not sure if that's good or bad.
Well, it's barely over a minute. I don't think it really matters. You set the scene and then you get on with the credits and then you roll the rest of the episode. The total length doesn't change.
It doesn't, no. And after the credits, we have a log. 2713.5. What happens here?
Kirk notes that this is impossible, but they can see it.
An exact duplicate of Earth.
They don't like it, but they're going to have to go along with it.
I think this must be, again, a retrospective log, because he tells us it's an exact duplicate. There's no way he could know that.
Well, Spock's just read out the details in terms of mass, weight, size.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean to say it's an exact duplicate.
Well, you know what Kirk's like. He likes to jump forward. That's what they all do.
Yeah.
They get a little bit of information and they extrapolate way off into the future.
In any case, we are still on the bridge where Kirk tells Spock to hold a fixed orbit and prepare to beam down a landing party to the place where the distress signal was coming from.
I take it a fixed orbit means they're always above the same point on the planet.
Indeed. So geostationary, I believe it is.
Okay.
That's how satellites work.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
For some reason, Farrell's doing Uhura's job. It must be her shift off. Down on the planet, the away team is a bit different from normal.
It's Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and a couple of red shirts.
And Yeoman Rand,
And Rand, yes.
who's never at any other stage off the Enterprise.
Really?
Nope.
So far, or ever?
Ever.
Okay. I would probably have disagreed with you, but now that you mention it.
Yeah, you can't think of a time.
No.
Kirk and Spock have a little disagreement about what period of Earth's history they've arrived at.
What's the disagreement?
Well, Kirk thinks it's early 1900s and Spock thinks it's just like the 1960s.
Yeah, we should say that the place, it's like a deserted town. There's shells of buildings and wrecks of cars strewn around, and I'm sure you've got some trivia. Do you want to discuss that just now? We'll leave the...
We'll come later on to the trivia side of it, but McCoy, in seeing this, is particularly flabbergasted because he hears, I think, is it Spock that says they've not been attended to for centuries, which is a long time.
Very long time, yeah. They decide to split up. The main four as a team and the red shirts on their own. That's a bit like Scooby-Doo. They're always sending Shaggy and Scooby off together.
Yeah, and they never learn.
No.
As one of the red shirts passes a door, we see it closing, so there's obviously life here, or a really convenient gust of wind.
Yeah, but is that after they find the tricycle?
No, just before.
Okay, so they now find a tricycle, and whilst Spock doesn't appear to note the significance, McCoy is obviously moved by this.
Well, my first takeaway was Kirk couldn't resist ringing the bell. So, see the trike, ring the bell. Yep, yeah. That's what I would do. It's
a bit of a cliche now, but seeing... in fact, they used it recently, I think, in Chernobyl.
Okay.
You know, seeing a kid's playground and the swings and what have you and toys, it says a lot about what has happened, and that's quite an emotive piece of scenery.
I mean, I think it's a real life thing in Chernobyl. I think it's one of the images from Pripyat is of the children's playground that's become overgrown.
Yeah.
But anyway, yes, there's a owner, certainly somebody here to claim the trike.
Yeah, we have a shout of mine, and a creature charges at McCoy.
Yes, they claim it's their tricycle, and Kirk goes for a bit of forceful diplomacy. Has Spock hold this child down while Kirk punches them?
Yeah. Well, it's not a child, is it?
Well, I think it's an adolescent.
You think? I mean,
we learn later that they get this illness and die quickly as soon as they hit puberty.
Yeah, we'll learn later, but to be fair to Kirk and the rest, they don't know that. Is this
he doesn't know he doesn't know it's an adolescent. He thinks it's a creature.
Yeah.
But it is an adolescent.
It is, yeah.
And he has Spock hold him back while Kirk punches.
Yeah, 3 times, I think, to subdue him. And after this, the creature child, breaks into tears.
No wonder.
Yeah. And in a childlike voice, cries that somebody broke his bike and he wants it fixed. It's quite sad.
McCoy assures him that somebody will fix the bike.
Yeah, they're all quite sympathetic, apart from Spock, who describes him as a humanoid, in spite of the distortion. And Kirk sternly informs him that he's the mind of a child. Again, very quick to make this assumption. This is a huge leap.
Yeah, he's got a very small amount of evidence and he's concluded.
Because only literally seconds ago he was punching the life out of this person, this thing.
Yeah, he's set him back to the mind of a child.
Yeah, and now he hears him speaking, it's, I definitely have the mind. Not he's acting, not he's pretending.
Bad or anything either, no.
He's definitely got the mind of a child. What happens next to the thing?
Well, first of all, the child has some kind of a seizure, and as McCoy's trying to figure out what's going on, the child just keels over and dies.
Yes, before that he sort of rants and sobs. I think he cries out, never.
Yeah.
And dies on him. So child death again, a bit of a Star Trek. Not what I expected.
No, certainly pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
McCoy notes that there was an incredibly high metabolic rate, as though the child or the creature had aged a century in the past few minutes.
Again, he uses some sort of device, doesn't he?
Tricorder.
Yeah, that's it. But that's a quick leap.
No, it's just saying as if. He's using a simile. It's not saying this is what happened.
Yeah.
They hear running at this stage.
Footsteps, yeah, and so they set off in search of the source. And that source seems to be an old house.
Don't go in the old house, come on.
Apparently 300 years old, which they tentatively move around in with their weapons drawn.
They find a small girl in a closet.
They do. A young terrified girl who begs not to be hurt by them.
Well, she probably just saw Kirk beating the other child.
Mm-hmm.
Either it's because he's pointing his phaser at her the whole time.
Yes. What else would you expect?
It's like, calm down, he says, pointing a gun in her face.
Yeah, they tried to reassure her, and Spock is told to take the red shirts and get readings from outside, looking for any other radiation or any other such pollutants.
McCoy, oblivious to their own input here, ponders what must have happened to make the girls so scared.
Yeah.
Outside, Spock ominously sends the red shirts off on their own and does some scans.
Yeah, he's got his tricorder, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So what is a tricorder?
It's just a scanning device.
A recorder, but they have to
There's different ones. You get a medical one and a regular one. They just take scientific readings.
Yeah.
The medical one does specifically medical readings.
Okay. And as he is performing these tests, we see someone in a different house clean dirt from the window, and we see Spock walking towards him and peering through. Quite a nice shot. I like this.
Yeah, it was good.
Uh-huh.
So Spock's also noticed this window getting cleaned, or noticed that it's been clean, and comes to investigate.
Back in the original house, we hear the girl opening up to Kirk, McCoy and Rand.
But I remember the things you grubs did. Burning, yelling, hurting people.
We didn't do anything like that.
You're not going to hurt?
Well, of course not. We're here to help.
Grubs don't help.
But we will.
What happened here? Where is everybody?
You know.
No, I don't. Won't you tell me?
You got a fool us at it and you want me to play, but I can't. I don't know the rules. I've got to know the rules.
Fooly.
A game, you know. You can't play a game without rules. Even Grubs ought to know that.
What are grubs?
You are. They were when onlys get old.
Grown-ups.
You said something about the grubs doing bad things, yelling, hurting, burning.
That was when they started to get sick in the before time. We hid, then they were gone. Am I doing all right?
You're doing fine.
You said the grubs got sick. Is that why there aren't any of them around?
Yes, they died. But that was after the awful things.
A plague, Captain. That could explain a lot of it.
But what about the children, the onlys? Didn't the awful things affect them?
Of course not. We're here, aren't we?
More of you? How many?
All there are.
We then learn that her name is Miri, or Miri.
Well, yeah, we do that, but are you going to ignore...
No, I'm about to mention Kirk's use of Columbo's old trick.
Yes, just like in Bye Bye, Sky High episode, when, yes, he acts very inappropriately.
Sleazy.
Yeah, talking to a young, vulnerable girl. He compliments her on her looks and her beauty.
He says, you're pretty, and she says, am I pretty? You're very pretty. It's like, what's the purpose of that? It's not going to set her at ease, is it?
No, that would be more uneasy.
Yeah.
Older man starts telling me how nice I am in a ransacked old house.
Yeah. Well, I said about this. I think, given that we also see it 10 years later in Columbo, it's maybe something that wasn't intended to be sleazy.
No, I'm sure it wasn't intended. It's just, again, the purpose of, before people complain, the purpose of this podcast is to look back with the 2020 vision.
2020 vision is what you're trying to say.
That's a good yeah, I meant that. And yeah, just to see how it stands up. And scenes like this, interactions like this, now, it says probably more about society today than it does back then, because back then it was innocent and you could be nice to people without the suggestion of inappropriateness, and we're a bit more jaded these days, and yeah, you can't compliment a
14-year-old
girl anymore. Some people might say.
Certainly not ones that you've just met.
No.
Anyway, outside in an alley, Spock and the red shirts are pelted with rocks by children they can't see.
Yeah, from up on a fire escape, and he tells the red shirts to cover him as he prepares to investigate. But they stop when they hear a short group chant of children's voices from the street.
Yeah, I think we heard it at the start of the show, didn't we? It was the same sort of idea. So Spock and the red shirts return back to the house. It's
worth saying that that taunting from the children, the sound building up before we cut back to the house. I liked that. It's
effective, isn't it?
It was effective, nice bit of direction. I thought it built the tension up nicely.
This episode's really good at this. It's so different from all the ones that we've seen so far. That's one of the things I really like about it. They weren't afraid to just do something completely different as part of a serial show. It's not like Twilight Zone where every episode's different. So we're telling this, not one story, but we've got this continuing series with the same cast, but we're not afraid to do very different things with them.
And it's interesting that they chose to do it within the first 10 episodes. Sometimes it's a bit shark jumpy that you run out of ideas, so you set it somewhere different. But this wasn't the case, and I think it worked very well.
They're avoiding being formulaic. It's not just we open on the Enterprise, the baddie shows up, they have a problem, they solve the problem, they're back on the bridge chatting about how great they are, and that's the end.
Sure. In the house, Spock updates Kirk on the children, but admits that they were unable to get to them. And Kirk tells him about Miri, informing him that all the adults are dead.
Yes. At this point, they ask Miri to show them where the doctors worked. She's a bit reluctant.
Yeah, they're looking for records, trying to get to the bottom of what's happened. She says, I think it's a bad place, but eventually agrees to take them there.
And she finds out Kirk's name. Yeah,
this is another uncomfortable scene by today's standards, where he tells her his name and they flirt a little, don't they? They sort of...
Yeah, she's obviously infatuated with him at this stage and says he's nice, and she's saying he's different from the Grups that she remembers, and he's not doing anything to dissuade her.
No.
And even giving her his first name, I mean, you wouldn't do that now, would you? You probably...
Well, I don't know, if you are talking to a child, perhaps rather than being formal and saying, I'm Mr. This or Captain That, I think might well be a technique to say, my name's Jim,
I guess maybe, that might be okay. This is a pivotal moment though, because they notice...
Yeah, some sort of burn or lesion on his hand. They both notice it.
A big blue scabby bit.
Yeah. She panics, claiming it is already starting, so it's something she's obviously seen before.
Yeah, this is the illness that caused the Grups to change their behaviour, become violent, and then die.
And Kirk looks understandably concerned by this news.
Yeah, no doubt.
Captain's log 2713.6 were informed that the medical building was also the place where the automatic distress signal came from. Now the question is, why after all these years?
It's just kept going.
Alright, so the ship...
They're just the first ship to come out here.
Okay.
This is quite interesting, this log, actually, because it's not a recap like we've seen before. This moves the plot forward. So as well as informing us about the signal, the Kirk tells us that everyone's now sick except for Spock, and McCoy has taken samples and he's working on some form of cure.
We are in the medical building.
Yes, McCoy needs some more equipment.
Yeah, he's taking tissue samples from them all, and he matter-of-factly states that he has found a veritable zoo of bacteria on them.
Delicious.
Yeah. But, as you mentioned, he is communicating with the Enterprise. He needs more specific equipment to be sent down. And I think, is it Farrell?
Yeah, I think it must be the night shift or something, because Farrell's doing everything up in the Enterprise right now. He tells Kirk he's got volunteers ready to join them on the surface if required.
This is a ridiculous idea. There's a possible outbreak, a coronavirus.
That's why he's calling them volunteers.
Yeah.
We're willing to die for you, Captain. It's okay. Just stay where you are.
And as you would imagine, Kirk tells him in no uncertain terms that it is a stupid idea. They can't risk further contamination.
Yeah, he just tells him to back off, doesn't he?
Yeah. We then have a little more taunting of Spock.
Well, it's more of a joust, I think, because Spock and McCoy have this quite regularly where they talk about physiology, and McCoy will make fun of Spock's being different, and Spock will say, thank goodness for that. And also, I think at this point, Spock mocks McCoy's microscope.
He does.
He's using one that he found on the planet, I think, and it's dated.
Yeah. But it's working well enough.
Well, it gets the job done, so McCoy's happy enough with it. Kirk, at this point, finds a journal titled Life Prolongation, which McCoy finds ironic.
Yeah.
Given that everyone's dead.
Dead, yeah. I think then Miri notices that the mark on McCoy is spreading, and she tells him that it works very fast on old people.
Yeah. We get another captain's log where Kirk gives us the important information that McCoy, although he has this biocomputer, he needs the uplink to the Enterprise to analyse his samples.
And after this, Kirk and Spock ponder the situation. Why do the adults die, but the children Is it don't or do become adults? I mean, they do become adults.
Well,
then they die.
We don't know at this point. Spock posits that the illness might start to affect people at puberty.
Yes, it's glandular.
McCoy can't understand why there are still children when the adults died hundreds of years ago.
Very good point. And Rand asks a question. If Miri has been feral since birth, why does she feel comfortable around them as adults?
Yeah, that's another good question.
Well, Kirk, he thinks he's got the answer. It's instinct. She wants to be taught the right from wrong by an authority figure.
And Spock and McCoy just think she's quite thirsty for Kirk.
Yeah, she is becoming a woman now.
Yeah, that's it. Become a woman. It's a red line for Spock and McCoy. It's like up to this girl, then woman.
Back up in the bridge, Farrell has the data that Spock requested, and he enters it into a computer as Farrell reads it out.
Yep, Kirk amusingly once again sends the red shirts outside. This is like the 5th time they've been sent off on their own.
And after this, Spock is able to explain the results for them.
According to their life prolongation plan, what they thought they were accomplishing, a person would age only 1 month for every 100 years of real time.
100 years? And only 1 month?
Exactly, human. Evidently, through some miscalculation, this virus annihilated the entire adult population in a very short period, leaving only the children.
But that means these children
Could very well be immensely old.
That would certainly answer the question of what happened to their parents.
Answers it very well.
Children who never age. Eternal childhood filled with play. No responsibilities. It's almost like a dream.
I wouldn't examine that dream too closely. It might not turn out to be very pretty.
A few days ago, or a week ago, that creature that attacked us could have been just like Miri. A child entering puberty on this planet means a death sentence.
So, do you think Kirk is thinking to himself, Spock, what you're really saying here is I am able, it would not be illegal, it would not be immoral for me.
No, he's not saying that because
she's old enough. We've got a connection.
It's long enough since her birth, but she's still not capable of consent. She's got the mental age of a younger child.
Well, that's a grey area, isn't it?
No.
She's 300 years old.
It's not a grey area.
That's what he's thinking. And Rand knows that as well.
Kirk specifically says that despite their age, the children don't know what's going on or what's going to happen to them.
Yes, exactly my point.
And then asks Miri to go someplace with him. Stop, you're making this sound worse than it is.
Okay, well, let's move on.
He then holds her hand, and no, he doesn't. As they leave, Rand has the same idea that you did.
Yes.
But Spock points out that it's fine, she's hundreds of years. What?
Rand is really jealous.
Well, yeah, but no, this isn't what's happening.
But she thinks it might be.
You and Spock and Rand are all on the wrong page here.
Well, listen, it's Kirk's fault the way he acts.
He's just being a father figure to her.
Yeah, if your father was Fred West.
No, he's being kind and thoughtful and caring, and he needs her help at this stage.
Yeah, fine.
In the toy shop.
The hideout.
It's a bit West Side Story, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I'm sure the toy shop was the nickname of the toy shop killer. It was a serial killer. A really, I was going to say really disgusting. They're all really disgusting.
Yeah.
But yeah, the toy shop killer, yeah, very, very brutal and horrendous killer. Something like the toy shop.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, it's not massive over here. Quite big in the States. Toy box, not toy shop.
Right,
Same
okay.
idea. Anyway, where were we?
There's children in this toy shop who are watching through the window to see what's going on out in the street. And
it's a gang of... I'm sorry, there's no other way. They're creepy adult kids.
Yeah, because they're 300 years old.
Yeah, but in real life...
The leader seems to be a guy called Jan.
Dodgy character.
He wonders why Miri's with the Grups and thinks they need to stop the Grups.
Yeah, because he has seen her with Kirk.
It's the same sort of thing as with Rand. There's a bit of jealousy going on here.
Yeah.
And he's obviously seen enough of them to know that they're using these little black boxes to communicate with somebody and thinks they should take those away.
Yes, before another weird kid tries to start a group chant. They love these group chants.
I think they just must be used to them.
But Jan tells them it's not a game. They are grups and it's a dangerous business, this. And at this point, they see Kirk outside, pointing over to their building as Miri unsuccessfully tries to pull him back.
Yeah, Kirk and Miri go in and the children are all hiding by now, but one of the ones who is obviously suffering from the illness that we saw earlier comes out and attacks Kirk.
Yes, screaming and shouting, and I think he's forced to shoot them dead.
Well, he's not forced to that, he just chooses to do that.
He loves that.
He says that his phaser was set to stun, so obviously the illness makes them particularly fragile.
Miri is in a shock.
He's just killed her friend.
Yeah, her name was Louise, and she was only a little older than her. So she's sobbing, and Kirk clasps her to his chest.
I think she's hugging him in so he doesn't shoot her.
Keep your enemies close.
Yeah.
Back at the medical building, a little time later, Kirk and Miri are back there.
Kirk's given Miri an innocuous task to perform to keep her busy.
What was that again?
She's sharpening pencils. And when she says, "Is this enough pencils?" You got like 400 pencils. He's like, "Nope, few more."
I think Spock is waiting on further data from the Enterprise, and then he discusses the notes found from the last medical officer in charge when the disease began.
I think part of the reason that Miri's been given this job to do so she doesn't hear what they're talking about, because they start to discuss her prognosis. Yeah,
but I'm not sure if sharpening pencils in the same room is
it's one of those squeaky wheel ones that you turn the handle and it makes a lot of noise. Spock's data tells him that the illness is contracted at puberty and becomes acute in a month, and he thinks, given the speed at which she ages, Miri probably only has 5 or 6 weeks left before she becomes fully infected.
Yeah, and I think McCoy states what they all know. It's only a matter of time before they all go mad and destroy each other.
Yeah, I think the older the subject, the more rapid the illness.
And we can see Kirk examining his worsening wound.
And it's not even good news for Spock, because although he doesn't have any signs of the illness, he is himself a carrier, so can't ever return to the Enterprise. He says, and I do want to go back, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, McCoy then starts to detail the symptoms that they can expect, which really upsets Kirk. Kirk at this point asks Spock, is there any way his numbers could be wrong?
Yeah, I'm being over-optimistic.
Spock says no. And Farrell gets in touch, confirming they have 7 days to live.
In fairness, 7 days is quite a long time. In a TV show, you're often given like 7 hours.
Yeah, but a moment later, a day's passed because there's a new captain's log.
Yeah, they've made no progress.
Yeah, nothing's happened. We sat and moaned about this for a day.
We're back in the medical room. McCoy thinks that he has found it.
Well, he's found something.
Yeah.
Kirk asks Janice to take Miri out so that they can discuss it.
Yeah, and McCoy says that from what he can gather, the experiment was to create a chain reaction of viruses to extend the life of the human cell. Now, I am no doctor, but creating a chain reaction of viruses, I'm not sure how that extends that.
It sounds like they've made a critical error at the planning stage here.
Yeah. We'll get all our worst diseases, we'll put them together, and that will make us live forever. No, instant death.
Spock and McCoy are asked by Kirk to rework the theory and find a solution, which McCoy is a bit...
He's quite sarcastic.
I would say sarcastic in his response, yeah.
Yeah, he says, is that all you want me to do?
At this point, they hear the children outside the room, so they run out to see if they can get them.
Yes, but whilst they do that, we see that little creep, Jan, enter the room via an air vent and pocket the communication devices before exiting the same way.
This may be the only time they leave these communicators lying behind them. They normally have them on them.
The little phone shotgun holsters.
Belt loop thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very fortunate for Jan that they've all left them lying.
Very fortunate, yeah.
Out in the corridor, Spock, McCoy and Kirk can't see where the children went, but they do hear the vent closing behind Jan as he leaves. Yes,
but by the time they get back, he's gone and they notice the devices are also away. And McCoy points out their reliance on these communicators. It's the only way they can interface with the computers on the Enterprise.
Yeah, so they can't produce a vaccine that they know will work without them.
Captain's log.
They've lost another 2.5 days.
Now, I quite like this as well, the captain's log. It's not, normally the log is over a sort of stock shot of the Enterprise.
Yeah.
But this is over the scene in medical.
Yep. There's not enough, well, this is a separate bit of research tells them there's not enough food to sustain the children beyond a few more months.
Yeah.
So they've arrived at a fortuitous time.
Very much so, much like in the episode with the what was that, the one, the planet that was being destroyed?
Yes, naked time.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
McCoy's prognostications of the symptoms are proving correct.
And tempers are flaring.
They've got no sense of progress.
I think we actually see McCoy snap at Kirk.
We do, and I think Kirk snaps first, McCoy snaps back, and then Rand gets a bit of a dunt and drops some beakers that she's carrying or something along those lines. And then she runs out, followed by Kirk, and then eventually by Miri.
Yes. So Kirk catches up with Rand, and she's upset and shows a burn on her chest before... Yeah, okay, so this is...
This is weird writing.
Yes. She cries about the burn on her chest before telling him that she used to try and get him to look at her legs on the Enterprise.
My understanding from what I've read is that the original writer of this episode actually had a closer relationship between Kirk and Rand, and that had to be edited because that's not how they went with it in the other episodes.
Right.
So it then became this sort of longing, which I think is... They keep hinting at this, Rand's in love with Kirk, but it's only little moments like this every other episode. It's not really a running theme, I don't think.
Then we have to take out the episodes where Kirk almost rapes her.
Well,
or tries to, yeah.
A different thing altogether, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyhow, Kirk tries to... Oh no, she's got the blotches on her legs now, so she's not happy.
Yeah, because this, he does look down at her legs.
Yeah, so the one time you look at my legs, they're covered in scabs. Miri is unimpressed by this encounter because she thinks that Kirk's being too affectionate with Rand.
Yeah, she's jealous of Rand.
There's a lot of jealousy going around.
An awful lot. Well, it's a teenage hormones, isn't it?
The good news, though, is in the 8 seconds it's taken Kirk to do this, McCoy has found the solution.
That was easy.
Well, it's taken him 3.5 days.
Still easy.
Yeah. He's isolated the disease, and it's now a race against time and their failing competency as they lose control of their organs.
And we see this great news, Rand staring longingly at Kirk, which is noted again by Miri.
Yeah, she'd kind of run off. She comes back and sees, I think, Kirk embracing Janice and leaves. And that's her gone.
Mm-hmm. We're back at the hideout, the toy shop. And a woman scorned is not to be messed with.
Indeed.
We see Miri circled by the rest of them, and she's putting her plan forward to get rid of Rand.
She calls Kirk Mr. Lovey-Dovey.
She does, yeah. And it is a simple enough plan. What is it?
They're going to lure Janice away, and then Kirk will follow, and then they can bonk him.
Yeah.
Bonk, bonk.
Mm-hmm. I think she says that one of them will lure her away.
Yeah.
And the odd boy, well, see, the odd boy, one of the odd boys, he demands it's going to be him to do the luring.
Yes, and then he goes bonk, bonk.
Yeah. If I was going to choose someone to lure a woman, bunk, I wouldn't be choosing odd boy. He's not got the luring appeal.
But she's maternal, so that's what he's going to go for.
Yeah.
He does look like he needs some kind of care.
And not only that, apparently, but Kirk will try and find her, so they'll be able to...
2 with 1.
Exactly.
Back in the lab, McCoy is convinced he has the antidote, but without being able to verify it through the computers, it could just as easily be a lethal poison.
Yeah, that's not great, is it? So when you come up with a solution, McCoy, it's not actually a solution until you know it works.
Literally death or glory.
Yeah, that's not a solution. You were a bit too fast off the blocks with claiming that you had solved it, weren't you?
Kirk at this point notices that Janice has gone missing, so we assume the kid's plan is rolling.
Yeah, I think Miri, she's back there, she's playing dumb, and he starts to crack, admitting none of them is doing particularly well.
Yeah. Miri is concerned that Kirk's developing symptoms, and he insists that they need Janice. Spock adds that they also need the communicators.
And there's some more tension between Kirk, Spock and McCoy as they emphasise this need. I think actually someone mentions that, yeah, they need the communicators to make sure or confirm that the potion is actually a vaccine and not a beaker full of death.
Yes. that would be unfortunate.
It's a good album name for a death metal band.
Or a Star Trek tribute band.
Could be, yeah.
Beaker full of death.
Mm-hmm.
Miri at this point tells Kirk she doesn't care about his cure. She doesn't care about any of this Janice or anything. And he tries to explain to her that she's going to get this. The others are going to get this. And even though she protests it only happens to some people, I think she's pretty much aware that what he's saying is true.
Yes, she eventually accepts it with a scream.
Yeah, when she's got a scab on her own arm.
Yeah. Back to the hideout, where the creepy kids have tied Rand up and are rattling on about a game of bunk, bad teacher or some such nonsense.
Jan's confused when Miri comes in and upset to find that she's brought Kirk.
Yeah, I think she had asked previously of Jan what they're going to do with her, but he's not for telling. And things take a turn when Miri arrives with Kirk and insists they listen to what he has to say.
Tell him, Jim. Tell him, Jim.
Tell him, Jim. Tell him, Jim. Tell him, Jim. Tell him, Jim. Tell him, Jim.
Tell him, Jim. Tell him, Jim. Tell him, Jim. Tell him, Jim. Tell him, Jim.
Tell him, Jim. Tell him, Jim. Tell him, Jim. Tell him, Jim. Tell him, Jim.
Listen to me.
Tell him, Jim.
Listen to me!
Oh, yelling in a classroom. Look at him, a very bad citizen.
This isn't a game. There never was a game.
Call the police. I'm the police. Bunk, unless you're good.
Get a teacher.
I got 2 jobs. Bunk. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah.
Listen to me! You've got our communicators. The boxes we talk into. We need them to talk to the ship.
Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah.
No blah, blah, blah! Because if we don't talk to the ship, if you don't help us, there won't be any games anymore. There won't be anything. Nothing. No grups, no onlys. Nobody left. Forever and ever.
I do like that in the middle of an emotional bit of acting for William Shatner, he has to yell, "No blah blah blah."
Yeah. Bunk Boy then tries to start an attack, but is swatted away by Kirk as he pleads for help and the communicators. But Jan starts the annoying rhyme again as they all close in, a bit like some sort of Children of the Corn or the Damned.
It's pretty creepy.
Yeah.
They continue to close in and actually give Kirk a bit of a beating.
A bunk beating. And the bloodied Kirk, he goes to Jan trying to get him to understand that they only have months to live by themselves. I don't think they're understanding what predicament they're in.
Yes, they are going to die too. They are running out of food and I don't think they've got any comprehension of this.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to work at all. This pleading, this call to reason. And so after showing them his now fully covered, diseased arms, he picks up one of the smaller kids and asks what will become of them, the youngest.
I think it's actually William Shatner's own daughter that he picks up there.
Is it?
Yeah, or one of them.
Okay.
In any event, yes, I think it takes Miri showing that she's infected to really kind of begin to get through to them.
Yeah, she tries to back up Kirk and shows her own diseased arm. But it doesn't change their mind at first. So he has one last attempt and asks who here is doing the hurting and the killing. It's not the grups. It's these wild feral kids.
This will change their mind if he shows them that they're becoming the grups they detest.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back in the lab,
McCoy now shows symptoms of the disease on his face and tells Spock that they can't wait any longer. They have to test the vaccine.
Spock warns him that this could be fatal, but McCoy quite reasonably points out that he's about to die anyway.
Yeah, and so when Spock heads out to check on Kirk's progress, what does McCoy do?
He takes the vaccine and then yells for Spock as he collapses in agony to the floor.
You were right! This is the moment Spock's been waiting for.
Well, I think Spock's done this on purpose. He's gone out to give McCoy this opportunity.
Yeah, he said to him now,
whatever
McCoy,
you do, do not take this.
I'm going out. don't touch it. Okay, I'm okay.
Spock rushes back in and finds McCoy not quite dead.
But things have improved as we see Kirk enter in communication with the Enterprise and being followed by the kids and Rand.
Spock quickly explains what happened with McCoy, and before they can become too concerned, they start to see progress.
Yeah, the marks are fading, and in fact soon disappear.
Spock is visibly amazed and I think slightly disappointed that this gamble has paid off. And I think at some point he explains that he will never understand the medical mind.
No, that's right. But for some reason, they see these marks disappear and they immediately, it's another massive leap. They just, okay, that's it, it's fine, it's worked. It's like, no, there might be...
Yeah, but they've got the computers now, so they'll be able to verify before they give...
Yeah, but their friend might be dead. Just because the marks went away, that doesn't mean to say everything's...
Well, they already checked he's still breathing, so he should be okay.
You might have internal damage, you might be brain damaged.
Fine. You might have frostbite.
He could have any sort of other condition because of this.
Nah, he'll be fine. They'll use the computers now to get the right dosage.
They'll use computers now. Oh yeah, computers.
Everybody else will be fine. Mary has to reassure Jan that this is indeed a good thing.
Yeah, I think she replies, of course it is.
He's a bit confused, I think, because to a certain extent he's maybe losing his... the world that he's been living in is about to disappear.
Yeah, well, he was the god figure. Or
yes.
Certainly an authority figure.
Yeah.
We're back up in the bridge. We discover that they left the 300-year-old children there, and that Kirk has... Okay, tell me about this, Ian. Kirk has informed Space Central that they will be getting looked at. What is Space... The first I've heard of this...
There's no such thing as Space Central.
He says it.
Yeah, he means Starfleet Command. He's misspoken.
Really?
Yes.
Space Central? I'll be referring to it as Space Central from now on.
It never gets called Space Central again.
Why did he do it?
I think that might be the name of a department store in space. I don't know.
Or a train station.
Yeah, they've ordered up medical supplies from Space Central. That's what he's done.
Okay.
He's used a gift card or something.
I like Space Central.
Yeah, it's quite good. It doesn't make sense.
Why not?
What's central about it?
Central to all the starship fleets that are orbiting the centralised base.
It's not a centralised base.
Yeah, well, might be.
No. Anyway, McCoy makes a quip about them sending truant officers. There's no evidence to suggest those children wouldn't go to school. They spent all their time in classrooms.
Yeah, they did.
Anyway, Rand can't let it go and has to make a comment about Miri being attracted to Kirk.
Yeah, and after a pause, he agrees, but with a smile, and says he never gets involved with older women.
Slightly inappropriate comment, isn't it?
Yeah, I've told you, in his mind, he's thinking to himself, if I had...
It would have been fine.
Entirely legal, maybe morally dubious, but technically illegal.
I'm not sure that it fits with his character to be joking about it at this point. From his point of view, he's been paternal to this girl. Would he really be making sexual jokes about her when he gets back to the Enterprise? Anyway, on his order, Spock has the ship set off and we're on to another mission.
We are. I did enjoy this episode.
It's really good. I liked it a lot.
And as I said at the top of the podcast, I liked the change. 8 or so episodes of being set in the one locale.
Yeah,
it's good to get not even the same locale, but somewhere in space. This was a familiar feeling. It was down on Earth, as it were. It was enjoyable.
I think my favourite thing about this episode, and it's quite a bold writer's choice, is to create a duplicate Earth and never explain it or give any sort of information about it. It's a duplicate Earth. Just accept it. It's there.
Well, I was going to say, so you found this duplicate, so you only know this one little street, this one little town.
Yeah.
You don't just head off.
There's people in France.
Yeah, what about the rest of the world? How is it a duplicate Earth, or do they have different countries? There's a massive amount of research. In fairness, perhaps it's not their job, so they've formed Space Central have been told about this, and they'll send down a team who'll investigate. Yeah. But I would like to know. I'd be thinking, we're here.
Well, the other people weren't asking for help. That's why.
What I would do is if I was Kirk or the rest of it, I'd be saying, take me to my house on this duplicate. I'd like to see my street. Yeah.
Another thing, if they were suffering those symptoms that McCoy talked about, given that they were so close to death, they were putting on an awfully brave face at the end. The internal agonies that they must have been enduring.
They're tough guys.
It's worth noting that Kirk's efforts with the children to retrieve the communicators are pointless, given that McCoy cured everybody anyway.
Mm-hmm. And they've also got that time machine.
Yeah. In terms of an allegory or a message for this episode, I thought this was a warning against genetic engineering.
Did you?
Because these people of this planet have tried to develop a treatment to extend their lives and ended up coming close to wiping out all life.
I suppose you could interpret it in that fashion. Mine was just that kids are creepy and shouldn't be.
Yeah, you always take a different message.
Yeah.
I think the first time through I thought they were trying to slow the children's lifespans down to stop them getting this illness, or to stop everybody getting this illness. But I think they explained, no, they caused this. This was all one project. Yeah. Well, like we said at the start, it's very bold of them not to stick to a safe format and go with something so different. I thought it was good.
Yeah, they should be commended. We will have a fair amount of trivia, I thought, this week.
Yeah, bits and pieces.
Okay, you want to start? What do we have?
The original air date was the 27th of October 1966, so this was the Halloween episode. It was directed by Vincent McAveety. You've heard of him?
We have. Have we not covered him already?
No, he's the big Columbo connection of this week.
He certainly is.
He goes on to direct 5 more episodes of Star Trek, including next week's show, which were filmed back to back in a sort of combined shoot. He then went on to helm 7 Columbos in the 90s during that show's revival, and he even had a character take on his name in one of them.
He did.
The shows that he did: R.I.P. Mrs. Columbo, Death Hits Jackpot with Rip Torn, Bird in the Hand with Tyne Daly, It's All in the Game with Faye Dunaway, Undercover, the less said about that the better.
I liked Undercover, but not as a Columbo.
Yeah. Strange Bedfellows with the guy from Cheers. And A Trace of Murder with another Sledgehammer connection.
Yeah, David Rashi, yeah.
He also directed 2 T.J. Hookers and 28 Murder, She Wrotes.
Brilliant. Yeah, the guy's a legend.
And he did a whole lot of the Disney films as well, not major ones, but minor Disney films.
I think was his son not an actor as well?
His son's in this. No, it's not. His nephew's in this.
Right, okay.
He died in 2018 when he was 88.
So when we spoke about him in Columbo, he was still alive?
Yes.
Update then. Sad update.
We'll have to go back and redo that one. The episode was written by Adrian Spies or Spies. I'm going to go with Spies. It sounds more foreign. Though this was another episode that received significant alterations after the script was submitted. He also wrote for Bill Shatner. He did an episode of T.J. Hooker, and he was nominated for an Emmy Award for an episode of Dr. Kildare, but this was his only Star Trek, and he died in 1998 at the age of 78.
Fair age.
Kim Darby.
I know that name.
Played Miri, and it's her only Star Trek role. She was 19 in this episode. I mean, not a million miles out from 14, but still a wee fair bit older. There's a bit of change that goes on between, from playing a prepubescent girl when she was 19 years old. It's a little bit of a...
now entirely illegal.
In 1969, she received a Golden Globe nomination for her role in the movie Generation, which is not to be confused with the movie Star Trek Generations.
Easily done.
And a BAFTA nomination for probably her most famous role in True Grit.
Good movie, but not as good as the remake.
I'll be impressed if you've seen this. In 1972, she appeared alongside William Shatner in a TV movie called The People.
I've not seen it, no.
No, and she also appeared in shows including The Love Boat, Murder, She Wrote, and The X-Files, and she remains an active actor today.
I last watched her about 3 weeks ago, I think, in Teen Wolf 2.
It's a good
with Jason Bateman.
Michael J. Pollard's an interesting one. He was Jan. He was already 27 when he played that role.
That is crazy.
Even though he's supposed to be a prepubescent child. He also had roles in films like Bonnie and Clyde, for which he got an Oscar nomination, Tango and Cash, and Scrooged. He died fairly recently in 2019 at the age of 80.
Yeah.
There's an obscure Columbo connection here.
There is, I know it. Go for it.
So Michael J. Fox adopted his middle initial as a tribute to Michael J. Pollard, who was one of his favourite character actors. And the reason that he had to incorporate a middle initial is because there's another Michael Fox who had an equity card who was a Columbo recurring actor. Played a vet, I think, or a vet in Columbo.
Michael J. Pollard, I believe, is one of these people who I don't think he fulfilled his potential. I think growing up he was part of a group that more was expected. I think he's quite the
Brat Pack of the day.
Maybe not the Brat Pack, but I just think he was a lot of talent, and I think maybe a lot of work in theatre, but people thought he would go on, he had the ability to do more, never really. And I might be wrong about this, but I think there may have been issues in his life because I think maybe there was depression. I think maybe there was maybe even a bit of bitterness that he didn't quite achieve what he could have, and I think that towards the end there was issues and problems.
Okay. Your favourite child, Mr. Bunk, was played by John Menga. He was already known to audiences by the time of this show for his appearance as Dill Harris in To Kill a Mockingbird.
He had a fair set of teeth in him, didn't he?
He did. He went on to appear in lots of sequels, including The Godfather Part 2 and Smokey and the Bandit Part 2. He's got a connection to a famous acting dynasty.
He does.
His half-sister was Connie Stevens, which meant for a time he was the brother-in-law of Eddie Fisher, who'd also been married to Debbie Reynolds, and Elizabeth Taylor, and was Carrie Fisher's father. So Menga was the uncle of Jolie and Tricia Lee Fisher.
There you go.
And he died in 1995 after suffering complications connected to AIDS at the age of just 42.
Sad.
And now we get onto the fun bit for the other children. So many of these children were related to the cast and crew. Elizabeth and Melanie Shatner, William Shatner's kids. John and Scott Dweck are Grace Lee Whitney's sons. Darlene and Dawn Roddenberry were Gene Roddenberry's daughters, and Stephen McAveety was the nephew of director Vincent McAveety. Additionally, Phil and Iona Morris were the children of Mission Impossible star Greg Morris. They're all still alive apart from Darlene Roddenberry, who died in a car accident in 1995.
Did any of them make it big as an actor?
Some of them did more. So Scott Dweck, both of the Morris children, and Melanie Shatner all went on to appear in further Star Trek episodes or movies.
Yeah, that's not quite... I mean, that's because of who their relatives are.
They did other things as well.
Okay. T.J. Hooker.
Leonard Nimoy declined an invitation to bring his children on set to participate.
Quite right.
Somewhat ironically, his son Adam did go on to direct 2 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation and produce a documentary about Spock and marry one of the stars of Deep Space Nine.
They like to keep these things
in-house.
Very close-knit, don't they?
They spend all their time at these conventions, they only see each other.
Yeah.
After the show was first broadcast, it was banned by the BBC for over 20 years.
Why?
One of 4 episodes that dealt unpleasantly with the subjects of madness, torture, sadism and disease.
Oh.
I think there was people who wrote in to complain.
It shows you how times have changed.
Mary Whitehouse sort of days.
No, before that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very Victorian standard.
Yeah. And this is what you've been waiting for. The exteriors were filmed on redressed sets from the Andy Griffith Show, which was another Desilu production.
I was looking into this a little bit more, and another couple of episodes I think we can talk about it in a bit more detail. But yeah, I recognised the sets. I think it's a 40 acres set at originally the RKO Studios, which then became I think it's changed hands quite a few times, but this was the Desilu, which was the Lucille Ball and Desi Hernandez, that the husband and wife team who had the production company and the studio. So very famous set. I think some of the Batman from the 60s was filmed in it as well.
A lot of things were filmed there. There's a long list.
But primarily Andy Griffiths.
And this episode.
And another episode.
In her autobiography, Grace Lee Whitney makes serious accusations of sexual assault against an executive on the show following the filming of this episode. She was fired a few days later.
Ooh.
And her last appearance was in the next episode produced after Miri. Her book draws a line between the two things, but also indicates that there was a creative decision to untether Kirk from an ongoing romantic interest. So you don't know is it connected, is it not? I don't know.
She's not had a good time off it, I don't think.
Obviously, we know better now that this kind of incident would probably not have been anything too far from the norm for a long time, even more recently. Jim Goodwin, not connecting with that story, but this was his final appearance as Farrell. His friend, you might remember from when I mentioned him when we did The Enemy Within, his friend John D.F. Black was the writer who was overseeing this part of the series, and after he left the show, Goodwin wasn't used again.
Okay.
This was also the first episode to have Gene Kuhn as producer. He would go on to be one of the most influential people in the show's history and its development. International titles, they're all called Miri, except for Japanese.
Okay.
So they go for Yonhyaku Sai no Shoujo, which is 400-year-old girl, which is a number they've just made up. Nobody says she's 400.
No.
Quite clear to say 300.
They do.
Anyhow, next week, unless you've got other trivia.
Just the building where Miri was found initially, that was the Maybury Hotel on the Andy Griffith Show.
Cool.
And the Rusk Hotel was in this. We see that in the background was the Walker's Drugstore, also on the Andy Griffith Show.
That's some good trivia.
I do like a bit of Andy Griffiths. I mean, mainly Matlock. Primarily Matlock for me, but I have watched a lot of the Andy Griffith Show. Very good.
Yeah.
Mentioned that before.
Next week is the 9th episode of season 1, and it's on almost immediate Columbo connection because it's called Dagger of the Mind.
Yeah.
Which is a shared title.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, usual requests for social media interaction, find us at Trek Podcast on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. You can find us on YouTube still, and all of the shows have a post at www.astartrekpodcast.com. And if you could spare the time, a wee review on Apple Podcasts would go a long way to helping us out.
Or any other platform you see fit.
Yeah, it doesn't help us so much, but yeah, if that's what you're using, then you go.
Beggars can't be choosers.
That's it. We'll see you all in 7 days' time.
Cheerio.
Bye.